45. Brown, 45. Hot, 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 hot.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday, Australia. Ooh, spit it out. Summer Series. The series where we find out why Australians love the game of NFL. Joining us today, Charlie, listen to some of these stats, mate. He's an NRL legend, over 200 games at the top level. He's an Origin player, 2010 Premiership player. He's been an NRLW coach. He's now a specialist coach, and he gets behind the mic with friend of the show, rugby league guru. He is Mr. Jamie Soward. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for bringing up the NRLW coach. I got sacked last year, so appreciate you reminding everyone about that. But looking forward to getting on the show, boys. I was actually a funny story because when I saw Guru come on your show, I get a little bit pissy when he does these sort of cool promos. He did the promo down in Melbourne with ESPN or AFL, NFL Australia and stuff like that, and I was like, mate, I pretty much was supporting it before you were, so I get a little bit upset, and I reached out to you guys, and I'm really excited because I know the passion's there for you guys and what you do, and looking forward to talking a bit of garbage for the next 40.
Beautiful. Well, we're big fans of Roo, but it's nice to know that it's nice to know his place in the pecking order. Anyway, that's good to know.
100%. And that's pretty much how I these boys keep complaining to me, mate. I'm just the face, they're the talent, but I bring them along with me. We were down there with
You've got big shoulders. You've got big shoulders.
That's 100% right. So, mate, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. So let's get down to it, though. Like you say there, you've been on the NFL train longer. So tell us, when did you first get into NFL?
Yeah, so 2010, I was playing in the Indigenous All-Stars game, the first one up on the Gold Coast, and the New Orleans Saints played the Indianapolis Colts, and it was after Hurricane Katrina, and I actually had a sizable, small, responsible bet with Wendell Saylor. He wanted Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts, and I wanted little engine that could, Drew Brees and the Saints. So I took money off him, and ever since then, I've been a New Orleans Saints fan and watched the NFL, and even had a podcast with Trent Copeland, Chad Townsend, and Nick Davis over the last couple of years, but life got too busy, and then slowly got into fantasy as well, to which I know that Chad and the boys will see this. Our very first season, I took out the crown, which was great. But I actually just love two sides of it. I love the fan side of it, of what you guys love about the sport and cheering on the Saints, and it's been a long time, but I also love the production stuff and the way they go about things, and the shows and the exposure that they give to their brand. So I've been a fan of the New Orleans Saints for a long time. Ever since that moment I won that bet with Bill. So
I want to say 04. Is that when? I reckon it was around that time. So you're coming up 20 odd years of the Saints.
09, mate. 09, 10.
Was that when New Orleans? Was that when? Anyway.
Someone's going to have to fact check this in the background. I'm pretty sure it was 09-10 they beat Indianapolis Colts. Don't ask me the score.
No, mate, you're going to throw out the score. No.
It was 2010.
What was it?
2010. I'll fact check that very quickly.
Bang, that's
2010.
I'm pretty sure I said 09, 010 before.
Mate,
what was it about the Saints?
Fast.
Like, the funny thing is, we joked about this before. You're wearing the Patriots jersey, Tom Brady. But what was it about the Saints that actually brought you to that team? Besides just winning a bet.
Yeah, I loved Drew Brees. I loved the undersized quarterback. His career coming out of college, the way that he went to the Chargers, and then he got moved on for Rivers, and then went into New Orleans Saints. And it's there's moments there that in New Orleans, I think about that Hurricane Katrina and that first game back in the stadium and getting Drew Brees there and being able to win with Sean Payton. Like, that is movie type stuff. So I think just appreciating myself, I felt like I was an undersized 5'8" in the competition, and watching him compete at an elite level, and the way that he carried the teams before he retired, and the injuries and stuff that he went through. And plus, I loved his journey about how he'd study in the off season and come up with new themes for himself to be able to take back to his teammates. So watching Drew Brees compete at that elite level, being undersized, and also carrying the team with some fantastic players, but after winning a Super Bowl, everyone remembers you for the ring. So I just enjoyed his journey.
It's interesting. You talk about being undersized, and you look at the draft every year, and whenever there's two quarterbacks that seem like they could go top of the draft as contenders, I think of when it was C.J. Stroud and Brees Hall, and the knock on Brees Hall was he was too short, and the criticism of Kyler Murray, who's like a dynamic athlete. The criticism is he's too short, but you're right. Looking back to Drew Brees, like if you've got a command of the game, you've got a command of the game, and you can do it. It's quite a beautiful tale. You talked about I want to ask why NFL appeals to you, and you sort of touched on there the media and the brand and the way they do it. What is it about that way that the NFL tells its story, or what do they have that you kind of wish that Australian codes like NRL and AFL had?
They have a wide range of opinion that's freely accessible across different networks, and there's no behind the scenes agendas. I'm sure over there there'd be politics that we're not privy to, but I love the fact that you can listen to a podcast on ESPN, but then go and listen to a different one from Fox about what they're sort of seeing and doing like that. And they've got people there that just say it how it is, and there's no repercussion from other people slagging those other people off, or players. I'm sure players get personal, and I think that's one thing I'd love to see is probably Australian media working in partnership together with the players a little bit more, and letting the players express, if a player tells you to piss off, that should be okay. But in the rugby league world, there's probably a lot more rivalries and people hating each other, and because it's such a small fishbowl world, where I feel like the NFL, the coverage is elite, the players are elite, but it's freely accessible. There's so many different ways to get your and Australia's getting there, but I feel like we're 20 years behind coverage of what our sport could be because of the way they do it, the people they've got on there, the opinions they get. College football for me is peak TV, and you see Pat McAfee hosting that with Nick Saban, who you never thought. Now you're seeing Bill Belichick. I love all that kind of stuff. But in Australia, we're a little bit more selfish with that kind of stuff. I don't think we're as openly in sharing that stuff either.
I love it. Sounds like you're just a real, and I mean this in the best way possible, like a real nuffy, just like us, just gets down in the weeds and just love everything about, especially, you've had your time in the media now down here, so you've seen a lot more than we have behind the scenes, but, seeing that side of the American and just what we could have, obviously not on the same size because they're, millions of people more than us, but even if it's 1/10, 1/20th of the size, it could still be something enormous over here compared to what they've got.
Yeah, and I think this is not a shot at anyone, but I think we safeguard ourselves from collaborating. We're over there, they have no rules about how much footage you take off the TV or whatever. They just let it's a free for all. Whereas over here, we're very limited in access and all that kind of stuff. Instead of just going, hey, we want more coverage in Australia, open up for NFL fans to come down and collaborate with us, take as much film as you like, start up whatever you like, go on to do all that kind of stuff and work together. But again, we safeguard ourselves and put it in a box because we want to try and protect it instead of just going, okay, well, as long as you're not abusing it and live streaming games from your house, you should be able to get as much footage of that as you want and give people an insight into other people breaking, whether it's league, whether it's NFL, whatever, breaking it all down.
It's funny,
mention that.
Don't want to get bogged down in the media law side of this, but it's I kind of feel like the rules we play by in Australia are so far behind just how people want to consume their sport. You want to tune into your favourite people talking about it, and you want to see a clip in there. You want to see the thing they're talking about, and it only helps the sport. If everyone's sharing this touchdown, this, or this try, or whatever it is, this tackle, so that we can see what we're talking about and use the footage. That feels to me like it would make the sports more popular, and all boats would rise if you allowed that.
Yeah, and you make a great point. People consume things in different ways these days. Like, for me, usually if you're at home alone, right, you sit down, you put the TV on, and you'd eat dinner. I don't do that anymore. I put a podcast on, or I want to watch something in a space of about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Where I can get a daily update on either how the Saints are going, how the Celtics are going, how the NRL shaped up last night. I want to watch highlights. So if you can only have to go to one place for highlights, and they're not actually showing what you want, or they have got the same opinion, or the right to be able to have a different opinion and consume it different ways in Australia is completely different. Whereas over there, like, you could deep dive into a pot, and I get the population thing, but you could deep dive and be a nuffy and find out your local team's 57th player that's up and coming, that's got a draft report on them. You know what I mean? Like, over here, like, we just don't have that stuff.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be your 57th, but it can be a kid in year 10 who's got some prospects in a couple of years, and you can find out his height and weight and what he runs a 40. It's ridiculous. But I just want to back myself up from before. 2005 was Hurricane Katrina. That's what I was going for.
Okay.
2005. Just so everyone doesn't think I'm how would you explain this? You've talked a lot about people gatekeeping, and Guru brought that up before, well, when we had him on. So for those that don't know about it, and we have people gatekeeping it, how would you explain to them about football in the NFL?
Well, the product's not theirs. The product's the fans. And the easiest way to get fan engagement and to get people viewing your product and wanting to go to games. See, there's too many options these days. When we grew up, it was rugby league. Like, we became all fans of the NBA and NFL really when you become adults, because that's when you get a chance to consume it by buying tickets or going over there or anything like that, right? There's not many kids in Australia that were diehard Patriots or Lions fans from when they were 4. So, in our generation. So having the chance to get people to go to games and actually support in a day and age where you can literally download a movie in 30 seconds, or watch a different sport on a different network, or watch a different sport on a different link. Like, there's so many options. So why not open it up and give people a chance to freely access it, to get that passion back? Like, me and Guru talk about it, like, we're both nuffies. We want to watch games from like 30 years ago and sit down and have a beer and talk about it, right? We absolutely love it. Just like you guys.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what it's supposed to be like. And if you give people too many options, how many people go to a game these days and they've got their phone out? They're either taping it or they're on Instagram during the game. And like, rugby league is one of the fastest games in the world. And last night I was watching people look at their phone during Origin. So you give people a chance to consume it the way they want to consume it, without any, I have to go to there. Like, if you want a nuffy breakdown, sure, come to Man Guru. But if you don't, and you just want the highlights, go to the actual site. If you don't want that, go somewhere else. Like, you should have enough options, because everywhere else is giving you options.
So talking about the sport itself of American football, how do you explain it to someone? You're in a pub and it's on the TV, and you're like right into it, and someone is, I don't get this game. What do you say to them? How do you explain it?
Yeah, so I had this with my wife, actually. I took her to a Super Bowl event a couple of years ago. In NRL, the easiest way is in NRL, we get 5 tackles to go as far as we can up the field, and then we kick. NFL, you get 3, and most of the time they kick, and you've got to go 10 yards instead of going as many as you can. You only get 3 players to go 10 yards. So I think the one thing that NFL is for TV. Like, it's not a at game experience. It's, unless you've grown up with it. So it's plenty of time. When I host Super Bowl with Nick Davis every year, we love it because we get to drink piss all day, and we take that day off because we know how slow the Super Bowl is, right? But females hate it because it's not fast enough for them. So I explain it as 3 tackles to get 10 yards. If you do, you get to keep the ball and you just move up the field. And then if not, you have to probably most likely kick, or it's a changeover. That's the easiest way to do it. You get 6 for a touchdown. You can go for a 2-point conversion or a 1. Sometimes we overcomplicate things, because we try and get, this is advice to husbands out there. If you're a nuffy, your wife doesn't care, all right? She wants to look at the cute butts in the pants, and she wants to know if your team wins. That's all she cares about.
Just got a position called a tight end, and she's all about it.
That's right.
Now, you've mentioned the great man a few times, Drew Brees, but outside of him, so I'm going to pick him as your favourite player of all time. Is there anyone else that you kind of put up there as being one of your favourites?
Yeah, well, Tom Brady. So this jersey, my best mate, Sean, was over there for the 28-3 comeback. And I am a staunch Celtics guy. I've proposed on centre court in Boston. My first kid's named Indiana after Larry Bird. Like, I am a full all-in Celtics guy. Never had another jersey other than anything Celtics. So I don't have a Drew Brees jersey, but he said, "Do you want a jersey?" I said, "Get one of Tom Brady. Like, that'd be cool." Like, he's about to win his, what was it, 6th Super Bowl at the time. So I thought, yeah, cool. I'll have a Tom Brady jersey. And then all of a sudden, it was the greatest win or comeback of all time. So this is actually the only NFL jersey I've got. So I love the way that Tom, similar to Larry Bird in a way, like unathletic, not much hope given, found a way just to be great and make people around him great, and then went on to win 7 Super Bowls. So
have you seen his 40 and you call him unathletic?
I've seen him with his shirt off.
He's actually at, 45, whatever he is now. He's better than he was at 20.
Yeah, I think he's winning off the field now as well. He's going very, very well.
It's I don't know if you've seen the the series, The Man in the Arena, that was like the Tom Brady series, brought to you by Under Armour. Like, it was very heavily sponsored, curated documentary series, but there was a great description of how hard he worked because he knew he wasn't a freak show athlete. And the fact that he'd be out in the garden when he was in high school and when he was in college, he'd be out in the back garden and he drew like this. It's this little chart for footwork on the ground, and he would just go for hours and hours and hours practicing footwork in a way that most young men would give it away, and they'd be playing video games or they'd be hanging out with their mates. And he was out there in the rain, in the snow, doing these footwork drills. And it's funny, so much of the draft comes down to traits, and some people are just freak athletes. Phelps has webbed feet. Of course he's going to win gold medals, right? But Brady really feels like that story of, like, you can get drafted, late on the last day, and if you just work harder than everyone else, then maybe you can be the best. There's just such a beautiful story in Tom Brady. He rubs so many people up the wrong way just because he won so much, But there's a great story for kids, great story for anyone.
Me and Guru talk about it all the time. Like, there's people that love the lifestyle and there's people that love the game. And the people that love the game tend to find a way to win. And the other one I like is, it's essentially it's easy to make the NFL. It's easy to get to the NRL. It's really hard to stay there. And longevity and doing your job. And, because most kids I work with, and the lesson that I try and pass on is, like, at some stage, you said to yourself, "I'll do anything to play first grade." You get to first grade and you stop doing your anything. And, like, that anything doesn't have to be something hard. That could be something as little as moving away from home and cooking instead of eating Maccas every night. Like, not everything has to be super hard, but mentally it might be hard. Physically you go through injuries. So I look at Tom Brady and I think, like, his anything was never died. Like, he never gave up. He always found a way. And for all those training stories, he had big moments, man. And he should have won 9. Like, realistically, he should have won 9 Super Bowls if it wasn't for Eli and the Giants twice. So, and potentially maybe even I was in Boston for the 2017 loss to the Eagles.
Oh.
And it was just a perfect storm, because I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be in Boston watching the Celtics. The Patriots are going to have a Super Bowl parade. Like, this is going to be an absolute dream. And to lose that game, but then still find a way to be great and win at Tampa Bay, like, that's the story for me. Is, like, his anything never stopped. And I think too often these days, kids are like, oh, once I get there, I've made it. Like, you haven't done shit. You gotta, you're not remembered for one game. You might be remembered for heaps of games, but at the end of the day, you're judged on winning as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a numbers game at the end of the day. And for someone who didn't make it anywhere, it's quite easy for me to say that, you've made nothing once you've got there, because I never got there. So it's a bit different coming from you when you're someone who actually made it. So this current, we've talked about Brady, talked about Brees. Current players now, can you tell us a favourite player and why it is Derek Carr?
Shout out Derek Carr, retired crook shoulder. He's got a million golf days ahead of him. No, it's not Derek Carr. I think he's not one of my favourite players. I'm not one of those guys. I support the team. So, like, if I'm not supporting the Saints, I'm supporting the Patriots. But I just wonder what Patrick Mahomes' career looks like in 5, 6, 7 years. Like, where he gets to. He's done so much at a young age. He's won Super Bowls. But he's also had 2 stinkers that are probably at the forefront of everyone's memory at the moment. Like, so I look at that evolution of that journey. I love watching a guy like CJ Stroud. I really loved watching Cam Newton, to be honest, like different styles about winning and stuff like that. I think the sad part of it is, and be interested to hear what you guys think, is like the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, like really just rubs me out the wrong way. Like, he was a god at Green Bay and has fallen off so quickly to the fact where it's like he goes to the Steelers and it doesn't move their odds at all. It's like 3 years ago, man, that would have been a huge move. It wouldn't, they'd still be talking about it. So I like that. I think to play quarterback would be such a cool position, and halfbacks in the NFL, I think they get scrutinised like it's the position. One guy I do love though is Joe Burrows.
Yeah.
I hope if it was any person I hope could win a title, I hope it would be him, because I think he'd just carry it and it'd be a cool story.
To touch on that Aaron Rodgers, not to make it an Aaron Rodgers, I'm a big Green Bay man, as you know, listening to the podcast so much. I don't know. I think the fact that it is so, like you said, it's not really. It was news for a week, and that's kind of it. Unless you're in Pittsburgh, I'm sure they're still talking about it. But I reckon that plays into his favour, where he still had a pretty good year. Obviously, the year before, his Achilles, he was no good. He still had a pretty good year. Besides, just didn't get the W's for New York. So I reckon with the defense that Pittsburgh have, providing they can keep everyone they've got, and I reckon it could be a sneaky good year for him. I'm not saying they're going to win playoffs or Super Bowls or anything like that, but I reckon, the fact that it has been so quiet really plays into his hands, I reckon.
I've been on record for 2 years saying that he's washed. So that's it. I think he's done. I don't think he's still got it. I think he was done before the Achilles, and I think it's conspicuous how much he has been out creating narratives and popping up. And I think, you know him more intimately than me, T-Mac, but if he still had it, I reckon he'd be quietly going about the job. That's my personal take. But I reckon I've got a track record. That last year at Green Bay and 2 pretty crappy years at New York, even understanding the Achilles, I don't think he's still got it. I think it's a shame. I think his best days are behind him, and he was great. He's a Hall of Famer, but I don't think it's there.
It just doesn't add up. Like, for me, I defended him staunchly for a while, so I'm off the bandwagon this year officially. But like, to go to the Steelers, like, that is just, if you had listed all the franchises that needed a quarterback, like, to see, Mike Tomlinson, like the way that he coaches, like, that just doesn't fit for me. And you're right, Pico, like, that whole narrative, it's almost like he's trying to cement how good he was for the Hall of Fame instead of going, hey, I'm actually still really good. Like, he signed for $8 million or something.
Yeah.
Like, $8 million is, Tom Brady was taking that when he won 5. But I think you're right. It's confusing to me that he'd go to Mike Tomlinson, to a Steelers organisation that's so defence-orientated, after going to the Jets, who were really good defensively, and he found a way to mess them up. I can't, and I don't like the way he's carrying himself in the media as well.
Yeah. Mike Tomlin does not want the players to be the media narrative. You know, like the
That's
stories
right.
out of the locker room, that's just not the way he does it. And, you know, he, to be honest, it's going to give us a lot to talk about this year, I reckon.
Selfishly.
I can't wait to get the guru back on and talk about the Steelers.
Yeah. So, do you have a favourite? Do you have a favourite game of all time? Is it that game at the Astrodome? Is it that Super Bowl with Drew Brees?
Well, I copped a fair few hits to the head, so I probably can't remember it without watching some highlights. But I would say that the two most memorable are, and these are obviously for betting purposes, responsibly, of course.
Always.
The 28-3, like, I actually had Patriots 1-6, and when I checked the score, 28-3, so coming home, and I'd recorded it and turned everything off, so I hadn't watched it, and they won 34-28, and they didn't take the extra point, so that meant a lot to me at the time, which was really cool. And then last year, sitting with Nick Davis, I was one of the only ones, I think, in Australia to have the first touchdown score. I can't remember who it was, but he got pulled down a yard short for Philly. So I had him at 85-1, first touchdown scorer, and then I had him at like $20.
No, it wasn't Devonta, was it?
Nah, it was one of their
Or Goddard
fourth, fifth guys. No, like their wide receivers, like their WR4, I think, and he got pulled down a yard short. I remember those games, but I think you watch it differently in that lens, definitely from a betting point of view. But I reckon the one I watched was just watching when Brady lost to the Philly Eagles. Like to come up with that play, Nick Foles, Philly special, like it's movie type shit. That's what I mean. Like it's movie type stuff. So that really moved me. And being over in Boston at the time.
The cheek of it after the Patriots had tried it and failed earlier in the game, like to win it with the.
But that's why they're so far ahead.
Oh,
because they've watched that. So someone's job is to go back, watch that, plant it into a bag, put it away, pull it out on the biggest stage.
It's
like
so
that's what I mean. That's so cool.
But that's also, I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about NFL that, like, I don't think gets recreated. I think in any other sport is the way that plays are like, it's like playing a piece of music or whatever it is that you pull out a riff at the right time.
Yeah.
And it's a story. And it's just one play, but it is specific and there's history to it. It's so beautiful. That game, I remember watching that just going, this is like a movie. It's like watching a movie.
And so that play, especially Philly special or Philly, that's just so recreatable as well. That they've done it well afterwards. You know, speaking of Nick Foles and how it went down. And you're right. My next question was a favourite play of all time, but I feel like we've just covered it.
I reckon that's it. Ticked it.
Yeah, the heartbreak one was Stephon Diggs catching that Minnesota Miracle against the Saints, and like. You just want to be a fan that doesn't understand in that moment and not play it on the professional level and be like, why didn't you just tackle him? And then you've been a professional and you've missed tackles like that. You're like, okay, those things happen. But that was one that stood out for me as well.
Also, 12 months earlier where it was blatant holding on the goal line for you guys as well. So you've had the Saints fans have been through a fair bit.
Oh, we're in obscurity right now. We won't win a Super Bowl or contend for a Super Bowl until 2040.
Well, we look forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be a great game. It'll be a great game. But
so if you could take any player from any other team and put him on the Saints, who would you want to get?
Easy answer would be Pat Mahomes. I think he's still the number one quarterback. I'd love a guy like Joe Burrow. I just think he's a winner. I just think he knows how to make. He's won at every level, and those guys seem to be special. But I was listening to Bill Simmons actually, and he's got this theory about guys that grew up in locker rooms and like their ability to be able to they've just been around it. And like Pat Mahomes' dad, I think, was a baseball player, and he just grew up around being in locker rooms, and he sort of knows that. So that's who I'd look for. But the way that LSU won that college football game a couple of years ago, the swagger, and then looking at him on QB one now on Netflix, like he's got a desire. He went to a really shitty team who'd been going okay with Big Red, but not really, and he's taken them to a Super Bowl very, very quickly. Like that story there, I'd have Joe Burrow, I think.
No, he's gone to a shitty team that renowned for not paying players and made him and his two best mates the highest paid players in their position.
Yeah, rightly so too. I mean, I love hearing that because you look at fantasy draft, which is coming up very soon for us, but like Jamar Chase is elite. Yeah, and the fact that they weren't going to pay him was so stupid. Like Joe Burrow's like, if you don't pay him, I'm out of here. So get it done.
And not only him, T. Higgins.
His mate too. Yeah.
Giving him as well. I want the best of all three of us. So this question, I've kind of glad that it's fallen into my lap, and I'm very intrigued because you're probably, just thinking back of who we've had to date, you're the most athletic person, and actually, you're the only one with.
Suck shit, guru.
You're the only one that's made it to the top level of any sport, which is huge.
You're viable. You're a viable athlete.
This is the real question to you to be, and it's the obvious for those that I watched many games of you back in the day, and you were a halfback, you're a kicker, so that's the easy pathway to go down, that you'll play kicker in the NFL. But if there's a position that you could play, regardless of height, weight, size, whatever you wanted to play, where would you be?
I would love to have been a running back, but I don't think I was courageous enough. It's funny, I did some kicking back in my career at Penrith. We had a guy come out with an NFL ball or pigskin, whatever you call it, and we just had a bit of a kick around. And I'm not going to say it was a genuine option, but I did think about it for a little bit because I could do both. AFL kickers go over there and they do punting, but I could actually save a team and do both. So I did try and tinker with that. The hard thing was getting the contact. Like, I appreciate kickers getting the contact of the ball for those place kickers. So, but yeah, I would have loved to have played running back or wide receiver, but I would never have even gone close to that. I look at what guys have to do and stuff like that, but kicking would have been fun.
I did. I don't know if you remember this, but in your last game in Melbourne, you tried to tackle Big Nelson, the Sofa Solomona. So how would you be as a linebacker, mate? You go all right?
No, I'd be probably a bit more of a safety or cornerback. I don't want to be in the big boys. That was my last game in the NRL. So you've told me that when I got sacked and my last game in the NRL. So thank you.
How are the fingers after that tackle, mate?
Yeah, they're all right. But not too bad. I can still catch.
Nice.
You're obviously, like, coming from a pro sports background, you understand rules and how things work probably more than, the average person. Are there any rules in NFL that you don't understand?
Ooh. Not really. No, I think I'm pretty comfortable. Is this a quiz? Am I taking the quiz?
No. Is there another way to look at it? Is there any...
You know what they could do, though? Honestly, what they could do, I think Rugby Union tried to do it a couple of years ago, is like sometimes just having it at the bottom what it was, like explaining it a little bit, like a little... I know that seems a bit lame, but like to people that are trying to get it, because it's on the perfect time slot for us. Like, Monday, Tuesday, Friday is like prime action for us nuffies. So I think sometimes I could do that, but you could find a call on every play, is what they say in the NRL. There's a penalty on every play, you don't call it. So, but no, I feel like I'm across most of it.
Is there any of the rules that you look at and think, not so much you don't understand it, but why the fuck do we have it at all? Like, it doesn't make sense to have that rule.
The contact on the kicker, which has made its way into the NRL, which is just ridiculous. I think sometimes passing, like, and when, who's got the right of way and when you can stop and stuff like that. So, pass interference, I think, would be one.
So, football movies. I know you're a nuffy like the rest of us. Do you have a favourite NFL football movie?
Mate, Any Given Sunday, Inches, I think, is an easy one. Rudy Rudiger was one of the DVDs I bought. Like that, Remember the Titans. Me and Guru did this the other week, actually, because of your... I think we were listening to
Perfect.
one of your things. So, they're the NFL ones. I was a bit of a nuffy. I liked Larry Bird, a basketball legend, like the actual documentary on Larry Bird.
Yeah.
So, but no, those, yeah, I think the ones that make you feel good, and have motivational messages within it, I think are really cool. And that Any Given Sunday one's really cool. Although I do agree with your post today, those uniforms on the Dallas, whatever they were called.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that someone sat in a room and said, righto, we can have them play the last game against the poo brown baby spew colour versus the all black, is just, and someone else ticked off on it, is the worst casting of costume in a film ever.
It's egregious. It is it's nauseating to watch. It's amazing stuff. So on the topic of movies, and this is my pet question, it's where do you stand on the movie Draft Day? Is it the greatest movie of all time, or is it a disaster from a football point of view, but still the greatest movie of all time?
One of the greatest movies of all time. I think that Moneyball is a real insight into some of the stuff that's not even all of the stuff, that's not even a little bit of the stuff that goes on behind closed doors. It's funny, I'm not controversial. I'm not really a Hard Knocks guy.
Ooh.
I don't know why. I can't. I feel like it's a bit fake sometimes. Like it's a bit for the cameras.
I feel like the early seasons were more real, and now the teams control the stories a bit too much,
Yeah, and you hear about teams like, oh, we didn't want to do it, or we got made to do it. And I'm like, well, if you got made to do it, you're not letting them into conversations that are going to make anyone look bad. So I'm not a Hard Knocks guy.
That's where I loved. I don't know if it was from. It might have been actually Hard Knocks, but the mid-season one where they let in. It was the Giants. The conversation into trading Barkley.
Yeah.
See, that just made them look stupid, though.
But that's exactly what you want to see. It does.
Great
They
insight.
look an idiot. Now they look very much like an idiot. But that was so cool just to watch and listen and be like, what can we do? How do we do this? We're going to let him go. I love that, even though it was only 5 minutes. But that was the only thing to come out of it.
The Detroit Lions was great too. It made you love the Detroit Lions. You could just Campbell coming in and taking over, and it was just such a good story. It was so good. And now it's like the Lions are everyone's second favourite team after that.
Agree.
Not mine. Mate, I've got one more question. I know Charlie's got another one as well, but I can't thank you enough for coming on and talking shit with us and giving Guru shit. I love that more than you know. So appreciate you giving up your time on. We didn't bring it up, but it's the night after Origin here when we're recording, so I can't imagine how you're feeling at the moment. I know I've kicked you in the guts a few times, so we're going to leave that one. We'll leave that one. The hardest thing for you about being an Australian and watching the NFL, what is the hardest thing about being over here?
3 a.m. starts. Yeah, I kind of get excited when they play the games in London. I know they're going to be shit games, but they're always good ones to keep up with fantasy. I don't play NRL Supercoach, but I'm right into NFL fantasy. Still working out how to judge that stuff, but yeah, I mean, if you all get a chance to work from home, which we all do with COVID, like Mondays, Fridays, yeah, you're getting footy. Tuesdays, you're getting footy. So I love the accessibility of it, and I think having guys like you promoting it within Australia and stuff like that. I think NFL, AUS, NZ could open up the gates a little bit more and let everyone in, and hopefully that happens.
That's the dream. Do you know what? I reckon that's the perfect note to end on. Mate, thanks so much for your time, Charlie. Just great to chat. And I will say one of the joys of doing this show is just meeting other people that love the game as much as we do. It's been an absolute pleasure having you, mate.
Thanks very much, guys. I appreciate it.
You're a good man, mate. We'll definitely have you on when the Saints are going well.
Oh, good, mate. Thanks, boys.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yep.